Welcome to another episode of Ecom Experiences, a podcast for e-commerce marketing leaders who want to grow and scale their brands faster. Join us as we interview some of the smartest brand founders and marketing leaders in the industry. Explore the lessons they learned, discover the keys to their success, and discuss what excites them most about the future.
Hi, it's Samir Balwani here, host of Ecom Experiences, where we talk to brand founders and marketing leaders about their experiences growing their brands. This episode is brought to you by Query. Query is a paid media agency that helps brands balance brand awareness and performance marketing to drive predictable and profitable growth. To learn more about how we can help you, visit weareqry.com. I'm really excited about our guest today. I've known her for quite a while and have always had amazing conversations with her. So today I have Martie Kuzzy, the growth marketing director at NEIWAI here. And I know this combo is going to be great. Martie, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Samir. Glad to be here.
So let's start with the easy questions. Tell me more about the brand that you work for, your role, and what you do.
Yes. So I work for NEIWAI, Director of Growth Marketing, and NEIWAI is a premium clothing brand. So we offer beautiful and functional designs specifically made for comfort. Our line is bras and underwear. We also have lounge, activewear, maternity. And so it's primarily focused for women, but we're expanding into the men's realm as well. And we'll continue that expansion. What's really cool is our products span across generations. So, the teenager who's looking for a training bra up to the grandmas who are looking for cool, comfortable sweaters and things like that. So it showcases our products, and our audience really showcase the need that comfort is essential. So
that's awesome.
For everyone. Yeah. And so our brand started in Shanghai about 12 years ago. And NEIWAI actually means inside outside. So it's a concept that when you put something on your skin that you feel good in and it's made well and it's, ethically sourced, things like that, like you feel better internally and you're able to live your life with more ease. So yeah, that's NEIWAI. So yeah, I've been there for about a year and a half and continually expanding.
And so tell us about your role. What do you do?
Yes. So my core focus is to drive growth at NEIWAI. So we launched in the States about 3 years ago. And so I'm really working on that US expansion and trying to, grow efficiently and make it more of a household name.
That's awesome. I know that you've had a really amazing history getting to NEIWAI also. So tell us, how'd you get into marketing and tell me more about the journey?
Oh my goodness, Samir, that's a great question. So I studied art and I was in athletics in college and, did a variety of things. I worked in healthcare, et cetera. And then finally was like, I got to get into a realm that's more creative. And this is like more of the storytelling piece of it. So I was working I had a friend of a friend ask if I could help. I was in my early 20s and they asked if I could help cater like their daughter's graduation party.
Awesome.
And I did. And the dad, we started talking and I was in Minneapolis at the time and I was, I wanted to ultimately move to New York. And I started shooting the shit with him and he was like the president at a digital marketing agency. And I was like, well, that sounds fun. That sounds creative. It sounds strategic, all these things. And long story short, I got some interviews, I met with their team and
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I started in the digital marketing world. And I had
everything starts with a relationship, right? Everything starts with a relationship.
Things are so relational. That's exactly it. Yeah. So I started there and I actually was hired to be on their creative team. And then my first day, they were like, just kidding. We're going to put you on the media team.
That's so funny.
And I was like, okay. I was like early 20s, just like grateful to have a job. And anyway, so the story goes from there. So I really learned everything agency side. We had like 40 people in the agency, and it was just, long nights, but really awesome. Anyway, so after that, and then after a couple of years being in agency side, I moved to New York and worked for an agency here, client.
Made your dream come true, Martie, right?
My dream come true. I need to remember that.
Yeah.
So, yep. So then I worked like with HBO and like bigger brands, and then made the switch into direct to consumer and working brand side. And then after being there for a little while, I was with Andie Swim. I then started consulting. And after a bit of that, I was like, oh, I miss the environment of a team. And so landed at NEIWAI and have been here for the last year and a half. It's been great.
That's amazing. I love that. I love the story of how you started into the agency world, got a chance to see it from that end, came over to the brand side, and we're like, yeah, no, I'm going to stay brand side. This is where the fun is.
Totally. And it's fun to have both perspectives. And I think it's really important as well.
Yeah.
And I think no matter where you are, you're like always kind of drinking from a fire hose, which is also fun, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that perspective is really important. It kind of is similar to actually my history. So I started agency side, and then I went brand side when I worked at American Express, and now back agency side. And I think you're exactly right. Like knowing what the other person is thinking and like having empathy for the things that they are dealing with. It's hard when you just don't even know what they're dealing with. So I think it is I think being agency side probably makes you a better manager of agencies because you understand what is happening on that end.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's
Definitely
awesome.
perspective.
Oh, I love it. So as we look back at the brand, so 23 was a interesting year for a lot of people. We're going into 24, which is more uncertainty as people look ahead. So tell me, what are the challenges that you're dealing with? Tell me about the challenges you're dealing with and just kind of what you're thinking about and how you're going to overcome them.
Yeah. So, yes, a lot has happened in the last year. I think the main focus for this year is really developing branding and like a
Mhm.
brand identity that's US specific. So, there's been for years like such a push on performance marketing and make things efficient and now that there's so much more competition in market, there's a need to stand out from a brand side. And with NEIWAI, we were really lucky because having, almost 10 years of the brand being in China and like known and loved, when we launched in the States, we already had a really large customer base here.
Yeah.
And so things took off. But as we're trying to grow, we want to distinguish NEIWAI as a brand in the States, which is part of NEIWAI in China, but its own entity because, the US, of course, it has its own identity. So yeah, so working to blend kind of this East and West. So we're working on that branding piece this year. And so people new to the brand can understand what we do and what we stand for and get on board.
That's really cool because, when you were telling us about the brand, it sounds like the brand actually has a great story and a lot of um, vision around it and like a true reason to exist. And so uh, I can imagine that trying to translate that from um, something that works for the Chinese consumer into something that works for the US consumer is relevant to them and differentiated against a competitive set because it is a competitive market that you are in. Um, and that can be really difficult at times and a really unique challenge. Um, how are you going along to do that? Where do you start on a project of that magnitude almost?
Oh, it's a great question. We're deep in it right now. So we've got it's a blend. And I think actually this is probably one of my favorite parts of the job is like orchestrating. Like it's
Yeah.
almost like building a puzzle. There's a lot of different pieces and there's a lot of different ways to put it together as well. So the way that I'm choosing to put it together is by working with our headquarters team to help develop like an outline and then bringing it stateside and getting perspective from some of the agencies we work with. We work with a really awesome performance creative marketing agency, and they help bring a lot of that US translation to make it most relevant to the US consumer. So yeah, blending those aspects and then over time working to make all our assets, messaging, et cetera, like cohesive across the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, I think I think that translation is really important. And then really understanding your audience set. I know early on when we spoke, you said NEIWAI really works with all of the audiences, like a very broad group of customers. And so curious about where you're starting and saying, okay, this is our like core customer, and then expanding out. How do you even define who a core customer is? Um, what does that look like for you?
Oof. Yeah. We've started building out personas and it
Oh, great.
started with like, okay, so our most popular line is our Barely Zero line. And it's like incredibly comfortable bras and underwear. Um, One of our staple products is actually a one size bra and it looks just like a training bra, but it's like simple, sleek. It's a great t-shirt bra. The price point is lower than a lot of our other products. Really wonderful construction and people just love it. And that's a really great gateway product for us. And so that definitely is cross generational, but the majority of, we've started with like that biggest, we started looking at personas focused on like who is the consumer that's buying that bra,
Right.
and how then do we introduce them to all these other products that we have once they
Mm,
know and love and trust like the products that we deliver. They can hopefully try other things like our activewear, which in my opinion is the absolute best. Our
yeah.
activewear is incredible. So yeah, so trying to get people to go along that path and try different products
That's really interesting. So
are
it's
in
almost
there.
like using a single product to actually prove out the values that the brand itself brings and using product as proof points. Um,
Yeah.
and that's awesome. Uh, are there any, so I know brand is a big one, and that I think that, um, Query's been all about brand marketing for quite a while and been shouting from the rooftops that performance marketing does plateau at a certain point and you do need to integrate in brand. And so it's comforting to hear that you're feeling the same way, and that we're on the right path from that perspective. I'm curious, outside of kind of scaling through brand, what else are you looking at, in 24? Are there new channels that you're excited about, or things like that?
Yeah. Call offline a channel. That would be it that we feel really excited about. We are leaning into partnerships this year. We've got a really big one coming up and we're developing a collection for it, and feel really excited about that. Last year we launched, I think last year we launched a store in New York. We now have a store in Soho. It's our first US location. And for reference, like um, in China, we have over 250 stores. So the brand is really has a significant presence there. Uh, with the store here, we're hoping to do more like offline events supporting it. And then as we like launch more partnerships, we did a partnership earlier this year with Solid Core. People came to a class and we gave them all a set, one of our activewear sets. And it's a great opportunity for community and bonding, as well as introducing our product to them. Uh, so we're hoping to do more things like that. But the thing I feel most excited about is tapping into the community offline. With this partnership, we're hoping to, with this like larger partnership that's launching later this year, we hope to support that heavily in New York, out of home, like fun things like that. But I think there's just so much competition online and like just continually like people are becoming more numb to what they're seeing. And so I think having that blend of offline and online is really valuable during this time. Whereas I would not have said that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's cool to see that transition, and I feel excited about it. Also, like TikTok, of course,
Yeah,
like
of course.
always,
Yeah.
TikTok shop. Like, what's really neat is in China, we stay really close to the people who work at headquarters for
Yeah.
NEIWAI, and they're doing some really revolutionary stuff on TikTok and just all these different platforms. And so it's neat, and with AI, of course. And so it's been cool to tap into that, like live streaming.
I was just going to say, like, live shopping must be, I know it's huge in China, and
Huge.
it's going to, I mean, it's starting to get big here already. And it is a huge opportunity also.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways where like Asia is leading the path on some of these things, and it's fun to be able to have a direct connection with, the headquarters. But I say headquarters, I can't think of the best word for that, but with our brand over in China, they're
Yeah.
doing some cool things we can learn from and test here. So
It's really interesting. You talked about offline and how excited you are for it. And it almost reminds me of like our early conversation in this podcast, actually, where everything is relational. And it's that like one-on-one contact for a brand as they build their core customer base, right? Like you build those brand ambassadors by doing events like this who fuel word of mouth that help build the brand when you have a brand story. And so it's kind of interesting to see how that comes full circle. I'm curious, when you do your offline events and
yeah.
these partnerships like that, are you also using it for content? Is that kind of part of the puzzle piece of, for social content, for paid ads, all of the above?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of benefits with the offline activities, and one is definitely content. And it's been fun because this last one we had, it's like people came that we had met before at events that we had last
That's
year.
awesome.
We had a sample sale at Shopify in Soho last year, and a wellness weekend. And so you start to just like continue these relationships with people. And it was fun to see people knew each other at the event. And yeah,
I mean,
it's fun to see it
that's
all
what you
come
hope for,
together.
right? That's literally word of mouth as people go and they bring their friends to these events and kind of fuel that growth. So that is really exciting to hear. Um, I'm curious about how, as you kind of look ahead into 24, how are you thinking about your data and the data you collect for your site and sales data, and how are you making sure the dollars you're spending are actually being effective and efficient?
Ooh. We're looking at more of the touch points, like at what point in the funnel, like which channel is driving like the most efficient results at certain parts of the funnel, and how do we once again build that puzzle, like orchestrate all the pieces to work best together. um, that is definitely a work in progress, but I think it's happening across each channel. So our affiliate platform, where we just we transitioned to impact,
Oh yeah,
and so we're able to get better tracking.
Mhm.
And so that can help inform us. It was a black box,
Yeah,
and so we're just trying to get more visibility. And of course, nothing's perfect. And
yeah.
so it's like, okay, how do you gather all of the data and then string it together into a way that helps you learn and optimize your channels
Funny, it's like
for the most
triangulation
efficiency?
versus like very clear direction. And you're like, okay, well, I have these 3 points, and this means that I can go this way or not. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
the more we talk to brand owners and even on our end, there's no perfect answer to that question. And so it's just always an opportunity to see how people are thinking about it. And um, yeah, I think directional is best, and then it's kind of like
Yeah,
looking at the back.
totally. And what's cool about being brand side is that you have the brand's best interest at hand. It's different than being agency side, which you also, in most cases, you should have the brand's
Good. Yeah.
best interest at hand. But but in both cases, you're storytelling, so the data tells a story. When you're brand side, it's easier to be like, oh shit, that did not perform as well as we thought it would have. So therefore, you can shine a brighter light on things that didn't work. Whereas agency side, you're also trying to promote yourself to the brand. And so there's a little bit more, there can be more of a floofiness that happens. And so what I appreciate about you in our conversations always, Samir, is the transportate or the
Transparency.
Transparency. Thank you. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
The transparency within conversations. I think that's so important. And that happens a bit more naturally, like in the brand, but can definitely also happen from the agency side.
It's interesting. It's one of the things that we are really, it's part of our core values on the agency side. It's, I'd rather tell you bad news and tell you how we're going to fix it than tell you good news and you find the bad news. And so that's always, from our perspective, the best agency brand relationships are relationships. And it's, having a very clear line of communication, having trust and transparency across each other. And it is really important. I think one of the things that I will say that is important, that I think I wish more brand managers and brand people, in-house people would do is upfront in the kickoff because you bring on an agency, you do a kickoff call, the agency tells you, hey, this is how we work, this is what we do, this is what you can expect from us. Very rarely does the brand do the same thing. And I think that there is an element of ownership on the brand that I would love to see from more brand owners of, hey guys, here's what we do internal. This is what we do. This is what my boss wants from me. This is what I expect. And this is what our plan is if a mistake happens. Mistakes will happen. The question is, do you know what's going to happen when, how you're going to manage the mistake? And I think that's important because it level sets and sets the agency on a path where they feel that they can bring mistakes to you versus feeling like they're always working for their job. And so, I agree. A lot of agencies are very bad at it. And they do create this sense of, can I actually trust that data? Is that real? Why is this missing? Why are we not looking at that data? So you never kind of want to be in that situation. And for us, being a pure media agency, right? I never want our clients to ever wonder if the recommendation we made to them was something they should trust or not, right? And so trust is paramount in the work that we do. We manage a lot of our clients' money, in some cases 20% of their top line revenue, more in other cases. And we want to make sure that they feel very confident in those dollars. So to your point, Martie, transparency and clarity are key for that.
Definitely. Which once again, it's just that relationship. Relationships are so important. Yeah. You build that trust.
So I got one last question for you to bring this home.
Great.
What advice would you give a new marketing director in their first 90 days?
Well, top of mind now is transparency. Mistakes
brief your
happen.
agencies well.
I can remember being, back in the day, accidentally spending half a month's budget in a night. When you're, I think transparency is really important. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, but just constantly test and be open to new ideas, continually hear what other people have to say, especially early on in a process, to give more perspective. And then you can it's more fun to work as a team when you're sharing ideas and get other people's perspective, and then you can run as a whole in the same direction. So once again, that transparency and collaboration. So be open to it. Yeah.
Be open to it. I think openness and understanding is probably the best advice that somebody could get. Just almost hidden in there was don't have an ego, which I think is another piece of that.
Totally. That's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. Martie, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome conversation. I, as always, have had so much fun. If someone wants to find you online, where can they go to learn more about you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Martie Kuzzy. You can scope through NEIWAI. My Instagram, Martie Kuzzy.
Nice.
Same handles
Yeah.
across the board. So yeah. Feel
Perfect.
free to reach out. Any questions? Yeah.
We'll put links to it in the show notes. But thanks, Martie, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Samir.
Thanks for joining us. If you liked it, remember to subscribe so you'll be notified of new episodes. And if you know someone who would enjoy this show, don't forget to share and leave a review. It all helps us impact more brands. If you're looking to improve your paid media, go to weareqry.com and schedule a consultation. We're always happy to chat. See you for the next one.